I hope you guys are as excited as we are because the market is really starting to move with some power. The market is actually officially in a correction status where that means the market is actually down 10% from highs. And as of this morning, $200 billion was wiped off the face of the earth today as we've seen a lot of these big tech stocks report earnings, and it hasn't been too good so far. But we do have Amazon earnings today, and we will definitely take a look at those. We have some great predictions for tomorrow. We have a lot to talk about today. Guys, the market is heating up right now. This is normally really good for short-term trades. So with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, thank God Amazon's going green here, Mike, because the overall market took quite a big hit again today. That SPY started selling off. We talked about it yesterday, how there was a big support around 417 there. Well, it broke that in pre-market, and then when the market opened, it went a hell of a lot lower, all the way down to 412 today on the SPY. If I would have told you a couple weeks ago that the SPY would be at 412, a lot of people would have said, wow, I doubt it given how big of a sell-off that would have to be. But the market really had some pretty good moves to the downside, and it's really coming off of these earnings. We go look at Meta. They obviously had those earnings, and they went all over the place, but they ended up in the red, and they actually stayed down there all day. They didn't get a good recovery, but they didn't really, continue selling off too bad. The big things that really drove us down today was Microsoft and Apple, Mike. Those two big players in the market were insane as far as that selling pressure. Like, look at Apple breaking 170 today and just running all the way down to 166. That was like a jackknife to the downside early on.
Exactly. Whether you're looking at Apple or Microsoft or Nvidia or even Tesla, they got their faces rearranged today, and there was a whole lot of selling pressure that came right in. And I'll tell you, it's something that we haven't seen in a while. And what's very interesting is looking at the market right now on, let's say, a daily chart. We'll see SPY. And we can see that it's down quite a bit from its high of this year, which is, around, we'll say, $460 a share. Right now it's at 412. It's down 10% from recent highs, and that officially enters the market into a correction status, we'll say. So check this out. We can see on the screen right here that, we see a 10% drop in the market on average once every 1.6 years, or 63% of the time. So it happens a lot more often than you think. And what's very interesting is that if you think 10% has been bad so far, we see a 20% drop 26% of the time, or once every 4 years. So keep that in mind going forward.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. A 20% drop happens 26% of the time, and it happens once every 4 years. That's pretty terrible. And I can't believe that a 10% drop happens once every 1.6 years. I didn't realize that it was that often, but I guess when you go look at the swings in the market, it makes sense. And look at 50%. There's technically a 2% of a 50% drop, but it's been 47 years since that happened. Man, how bad was the lows over the past couple of years? Like, I know 2022 was terrible. Let's kind of go see how much this thing fell here, all the way down to lows, maybe like 27%. So that would put us in that, I would say, like, it looks like it happens once every 5 years. Almost hit 30%. So pretty close there, Mike. And, the big swings in the market lately are getting crazy. I would think that given the price action right now, we could go lower. I think 15% could be in the cards. Like, let's see where 15% would put us right now. It would put the SPY somewhere around like 380 to 390, somewhere very close to there. So that would honestly not be too bad. It's a little bit under 400 though, which I thought, $400 would be pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the market definitely falling lower, but, it could take some time, and it definitely depends on how, we could say, Jerome Powell and his friends at the Fed navigate the, I guess you could say, interest rate policy going forward. But, yeah, definitely keep this information in mind. But, Tom, Amazon actually had a pretty good day in after hours today. What is their earnings report looking like so far, and how'd they do?
Yeah, the stock's looking great, and the earnings are looking pretty good too. So revenue jumped 13%, which was fantastic, and then they beat on EPS and revenue as well. I'm really glad to see this with Amazon. And whenever we go look at the numbers, the EPS beat by quite a bit here, coming in at 94 cents versus 58 cents expected. That is a huge beat on that. The revenue beat by almost $2 billion. That was a pretty good beat there. Now, AWS, Amazon Web Services, actually came in slightly less than the expectation, but the advertising revenue more than made up for it in that sector. And I'm hoping that whenever they have their conference call, they actually talk about consumers still buying on Amazon, still spending a lot of money right now. I think that would be a really good sign for the overall economy. But for now, these earnings are looking great, and that stock is pushing to the upside, which this earnings season has been pretty dang bloody. So I'm glad Amazon had a good report.
There we go. So Amazon was the last major company to report earnings for this week. Tom, tomorrow, obviously, we have 1 day left for the week. What do we have in terms of earnings and the economic schedule?
Exxon and Mobil's coming out tomorrow morning. AbbVie, Chevron, Charter Communications, Phillips 66. It's a really big day for those oil stocks. And oil stocks have been pretty nuts lately. So really keep them on the radar. There could be some nice continuations up. You know, the price of oil has been kind of going crazy with what's been going on in the Middle East. But on the economic schedule, I think there's a bit of an outlier tomorrow that people aren't really or haven't been talking about too much. As I'm looking at the market here, look at 1 hour before the market opens. We have the PCE price index, personal income data, personal spending data. This is huge data right now for the economy because it's going to kind of give the feds an insight on what those consumers are doing right now. So watch out for that spending data 1 hour before the market opens tomorrow. It could be bringing in some pretty big moves.
Sounds good. Well, let's get into the fun stuff for today, which are some setups and predictions going forward. Tom, this one is very, I guess we'll say unusual. So we're going back to old reliable TLT. This is a stock that has been on a very wild ride over the past 2 years, and it has gotten a lot of attention. Basically, the lower TLT goes, it means the higher interest rates are going, and for all of the past year, basically when interest rates increase, or AKA when TLT is falling, that would be a bad sign for the market, because anytime you see interest rates surging in a rapid way, you know, it has a pretty negative effect onto the market and the economy. But something changed today. In every other time, basically, we saw a giant sell-off in the short term, TLT would also be down. Today, we saw a giant increase in TLT today, but the market continued to sell off. This is a very big change that we haven't seen in a while, and basically what it's signifying is that, you know, people can actually finally start resorting to bonds for safety right now, while over the past 2 years, they have been running for the exits in terms of bonds. So basically, I'm watching TLT very closely right now. It's definitely on watch to the upside. And Tom, there's even this chart that I found earlier today that shows that TLT is getting some very powerful inflows right now. Around $1.1 billion of inflows, went into TLT yesterday, which is actually the second biggest inflow of the year. So keep a close eye on this one, and TLT's on upside watch for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's a pretty big thing to see those inflows like that. And I went back and I looked at July for TLT. The last time it had those big inflows come in, and in July, it had a pretty good move to the upside. So I'll definitely keep TLT on the radar, Mike. I think it could go up a little bit more, and it was very interesting to see it go up today while the market was down. I'm sure that's going to blow a lot of people's minds, but like Mike said, more people are starting to resort to bonds because of safety right now. With my first play, I'm going with AMD. AMD is a stock that I've been playing a lot the past couple days. It's been falling down quite a bit. Today, it didn't really do much. It just consolidated, but it consolidated on a huge support. So if we're able to get below this 93.50 support, I'll look at it to the downside, maybe give or take, maybe make it break below 93 even if you want. I think that could be a good level as well, but once it breaks 93.50, I'll have it on watch. So keep an eye on AMD. It bounced off of this level like 4 times today.
All right. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Meta. So Meta was seeing some daylight yesterday in after hours after their earnings report, but it got smacked up pretty hard once pre-market hit and just throughout the whole day today. So Meta is a stock that I've been talking about a lot over the past couple weeks, and I've been pretty bearish on it, and I'm not too surprised that their earnings reaction ended up being negative. The stock is just very overbought among many other things, but going forward, I am bearish on Meta. Not only are they below the $300 support now, but they're also seeing a lot of bearish selling pressure step in, and there is definitely potential for an earnings continuation play with this one. So Meta's definitely on the downwards watch list for me.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever you go to a daily chart, look at how overextended Meta is to the upside, and look at like this double top going on up here. It looks pretty good. So I'll also keep it on watch to the downside, looking like it's a pretty fire play there. Mike, what's pretty weird is, we saw the market go down today. We saw TLT go up, and what else went up? The banks went up today, actually, which was pretty surprising. So I'm watching Citigroup. I talked about this one a couple days ago, but I will be watching it to the upside tomorrow, especially if it breaks 39.70. These banks had a good move today, and I'll definitely be watching for a continuation. I feel like they kind of followed TLT up a little bit there. So, and I noticed that it wasn't just Citigroup. It was sector-wide, like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America specifically had a fantastic day. So just keep these banks on watch. It was pretty surprising to see them up while the market was dying off there.
Good stuff. All right, well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have a big tech stock, Microsoft, to the downside.
That was one of the more bloody sell-offs I saw today, and they double bottomed end of day as well. So go ahead and make them break below 327. That's a great support for tomorrow, give or take maybe 5 cents, but that looks like a great level to break down below.
All right, with the next one, we have Tesla, also to the downside.
TSLA. This is going to piss some people off, Mike, with Tesla, but go ahead and make it break below 205, maybe target $200 under that. Obviously, maybe not 200, maybe 201 or something to be a little bit safe, but that 205 area is going to be pretty big.
All right, and then with the last one, we actually have an upside play, and that is Chewy, and to the upside.
Wow, the growth stock really coming back alive. So go ahead and make them break above 1810. That's a pretty big level today, and hopefully they can get above there because that was a great runner today. I'm sure those options did fantastic.
All right, sounds great. So we have that upside level on Chewy. It's only a play if it breaks above this level. And then don't forget about Tesla and Microsoft with their downside levels as well. Again, they're only plays if they break below the level Tom listed. But it is now that time for today's big money trade of the day, and we are looking at the largest utilities company in the United States, at least by market cap, and that is ticker symbol NEE, Next Era Energy. So today someone dumped $790,000 into the NEE $52.50 strike call options that expire on March 15th of 2024. NEE is pretty oversold in the short term. It has had a pretty good recovery over the past couple weeks, given they are an energy company. If we see the war in Israel and Palestine and even Russia and Ukraine increase and escalate, that can definitely drive up energy prices all across the world. When energy prices increase, it definitely helps out, energy companies, obviously. So looking at this call play, it's definitely not bad. I like how there's some time to it. I like how the options are in the money, and I think it's worth keeping an eye on.
Wow, me too. I mean, that was one hell of a sell-off at the beginning of October and end of September there. So I will definitely keep it on the radar too. It's coming back alive, and that's a lot of money put into a play like this. So I'll keep it on watch, Mike. I'm not too big into like these energy companies like NEE. I really like to stick to oil stocks generally if I go into energy, or maybe even something like Enphase nowadays. But this is an interesting play, and to see them rising up like this with such velocity is nice. I'd like to think that they would eventually fill this gap back up, but that is quite the gap, Mike. I mean, that sell-off was insane.
No doubt. So yeah, either way, keep a close eye on this one going forward. Like I said, any escalations in the major worlds around the world can definitely influence energy prices in a pretty big way. But, with everything being said right now, we are seeing some volatility in price action and just sheer momentum that we have not seen in a while. The market tanked down a decent amount today for a real reason. Of course, earnings have been pretty negative, and I'll tell you, Tom, the big 7 tech stocks have really been holding up the market and, have accounted for most of the gains. But when you start to see them fall, that should really tell you something. Whether you're looking at Apple or Microsoft or Amazon or Nvidia or Tesla or any other big tech stock, it's pretty rare to see the moves we're seeing. And a lot of times this ends up resulting in some pretty big opportunities. So I'm pretty excited. I don't know about you, Tom, but let's keep crushing it.
Yeah, it's been great the past few days, and these ETFs like SQQQ, UVXY, and etc. have been killing it. I've been loving all the bot plays lately. They've been really taking advantage of this situation as well. It should be a great time for options traders, right? Like, of course, you're going to lose one or two here or there, but with this momentum right now, it's very fun to follow. Like, look at SQQQ today. Early on in the morning, sure, you might have bought in at a bad point and you might have lost for, maybe 5-10 minutes. But man, other than that, it was pretty much straight up all morning long into lunchtime. So keep an eye on these stocks. They've been starting to move in crazy, crazy ways. Even puts on like AMD, like which is one of my plays for tomorrow, could be a great way to go if it breaks below the low of day. These supports keep giving out, and then we're seeing insane moves come in. So make sure you're taking advantage while the iron's hot. Don't forget about the PCE and personal income data 1 hour before the market opens tomorrow.
Perfect. And if you've been looking at the market lately and have been a little bit gun shy, that's all right. We have the stat modeling program that has just been doing amazing lately. Basically, our SM bot today absolutely crushed it. So looking at the recap from today, we have Nvidia put options that popped up by 259%. Microsoft put options that popped up by 222%. PANW put options that popped up by 194%. WDC put options that popped up by 158%. And that's not even counting the BABA call play today. Yes, a call play even on a day that was as red as it was, that still ended up working out just fine. We had BABA calls alerted by our hybrid bot. It called out at $110 each. That popped all the way up to $145 each. If you guys are looking to take advantage of this recent price action, there's no better option out there than our stat modeling group. And while the tools and software and bots and community is great right now, it's only going to get a whole lot better in just like 1 to 2 more weeks. We have some amazing updates coming, and it's going to make some serious waves. So get in on the action. It's been great. And of course, you can chat with Tom and myself all day long when you join. We spend our lives in this community. So it's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. You can cancel at any time in the worst case scenario, but let's have a great end of the week, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And last but not least, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Mr. Sensei in the StockedUp Discord. Thank you so much for all of your activity and posts. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and let's end the week on an amazing note.